How to clean an exhaust tip or exhaust tips. Okay, let's go. Exhaust tips are not all created equal. What I mean by that is the finish on exhaust tips are not all created equal. Check this out. Do you know if this exhaust tip is chrome, a satin chrome, or actually black? Yes, it's black currently, but how do you know if it's meant to be black? Kind of like wheels. See the silver wheels? Now they have black wheels. So there is exhaust tips that are actually black. If you take something abrasive and it's meant to be black, you could jack it up. So first point, how do you assess what you're working with? Well, this is where you crawl under, because check it out. You see underneath here? That tells me it's chrome, but here it's black. That is unacceptable. Surprisingly, this is a very common question. How do I clean the exhaust tips, Darren? I know how I clean them. My go-to pad is the Scotch-Brite abrasive pad. Now with exhaust tips, I do not overthink them, meaning this will scratch up virtually just about anything, even glass. So chrome, while it's a very durable and hard material, this will scratch it, but not to the point for most people that it would be unacceptable, because exhaust tips get very dirty and you can use this with any liquid, literally even water. The abrasive part is more critical than the actual chemical. Now, if your exhaust tip is well maintained, literally water will do the trick. And you probably already know that, or you wouldn't be here in the first place. So an abrasive Scotch-Brite pad, and literally anything from window cleaner to straight water to super degreaser. And by the way, all these links will be under the show more box of this video. So once again, the pad itself is more critical than the actual cleaner. But let's say in fact it's a high-end car, or a car that you know has chrome that's nice chrome. You could break out some metal polish, some chrome polish. You could break out window cleaner. Once again, depends on how dirty the exhaust tip is. So let's check out this moment. Now I've got my bucket jockey, I've got my rather used microfiber cloths from Costco, my bucket jockey, and I will eventually make a video on this. It's got my different types of pads. I know many of you have asked about these pads and where do you get them. I literally get them at the 99-cent store, and they come like this. And even check that out. Talk about All-American, red, white, and blue. Now these will say non-abrasive on them. This blue pad is a Scotch-Brite pad, non-abrasive. The green one, which I showed you, is abrasive. As a rule, if you look on the packaging, it will indicate, for example, non-scratch. This is a foam and a scrub pad all in one. So virtually, that's where you just have to trial and error it. What are you dealing with? How much soot from the exhaust has collected on the tip itself? How aggressive do you have to be? I know virtually 99.9% of the times this with a little liquid will do the trick. Here's my all-purpose cleaner. No, it's not Griots. I just happen to use the bottle. So you can simply spray. And in my bucket jockey, I actually keep on the side pocket both an abrasive and a non-abrasive scour pad based on what I'm cleaning. In this moment, I'm cleaning the exhaust tip. Now, if it truly is chrome, as in chrome that's meant to be chrome, you will notice this will scratch it up. Now you would say, well, Darren, why would you possibly scratch up an exhaust tip if it's meant to be chrome? Well, that's where you could use steel wool. Now this is, steel wool comes just like abrasive pads, or pads come in different grits, let's call it. So this is just 0, which is fine. They have 00, 000. I think it even goes up to 4 zeros, which is ultra fine. So once again, almost anything goes. As a rule, fine. A steel wool will not scratch the surface like the pad will. So why would I possibly be willing to scratch the surface? Well, because most exhaust tips are not cleaned at the car wash. So when I'm detailing a car, unless it's well maintained, as a rule, there's going to be heavy buildup of soot from the exhaust on the exhaust tip. And you will have to be very aggressive in order to get it to shine and to reveal the chrome that's coming through it. So it's simply a matter of trade-offs. So if Johnny customer wants it cleaned like that, which it's still not perfectly cleaned, and this is once again all about the details. How far under are you going to go? You never know if Johnny customer is going to be looking and scrutinizing your work and how closely he was going to be doing it. And every exhaust tip literally is a case by case. So this works on chrome. I know that the customer is going to stand back and look at this from a distance. And if they ever did question, like, oh wow, like you could get up here and scrutinize this and you could see the scratches on it. Now if Johnny customer ever did that, that's where I would go into the mode of, hey, if you allow this much dirt, and you can see it on my fingers, if you allow this much dirt to build up on your exhaust tip, it's virtually impossible to get it off without doing something that's aggressive enough to actually get it off. So if they really cared, they would never let it build up to that degree where you would have to be that aggressive. But if you're concerned by it, then you can break out some metal polish and you can rub your little arm off and your shoulder and your elbow and your wrist, because you will rub and rub and rub, because this soot, this exhaust soot, is very tenacious and it will stick to this. It's hard to break down. I'm sure there's some chemicals that will do it, but once again, I do not overthink it. So right now, this is clean to what I would call 99% acceptable results. And that's where you have to decide based on what you're charging and your time constraints as to what is acceptable or not. Now I know I've never had a customer get down 3 inches away from the exhaust tip and analyze and scrutinize my work. What they will do is stand back like this and look at that exhaust tip, maybe crouch down like this and be like, oh yeah, that looks cool. And chances are they won't even notice it. And if they do notice it, they'll just notice that it's either clean or it's not. And yes, I've had customers specifically tell me that that is a pet peeve. So I know that when I do a detail, I'm going to clean the exhaust tip, but I'm not going to overthink it. Once again, I've never had a customer in 30 years ever get down on their hands and knees and scrutinize that exhaust tip from 3 inches away. They're gonna do it from what I call normal viewing distances. So you just gotta figure out by assessing what it's gonna take to cut that soot off and to restore it back to original like equipment. So you've got different pads from abrasive to non-abrasive. Now, while steel wool is very effective, I'm not a fan of carrying it around. You know why? It literally is made out of steel fibers. As you use them, they shed. So when you commingle steel fibers with your cloths, and you'll notice this cloth wants to cling to life to this microfiber because that's the nature of microfibers. So I'm very, very cautious and very selective anytime I have to bust out the steel wool. As a rule, I will avoid it at all costs. There's only very few jobs where I ever even need to touch steel wool because I'm really cautious or overly concerned about these fibers shedding and flying and floating in the air, landing on the paint, getting mixed up with my cloths. So if I have to use steel wool, because it is effective for a lot of things, like you can use it on glass and it will not scratch the glass, which is ironic because this is like a synthetic material. This is a natural material, steel. This will not scratch glass, but this will scratch the crap out of your glass. Completely counterintuitive. But this will not shed fibers like this will. I am not nearly as concerned about this as I am these fibers breaking off, shedding, and getting commingled with my detailing supplies or the car itself. So the cleaner, pick whatever you want. All-purpose cleaner, super degreaser. Check the links below this video. Pretty straightforward. Okay guys, I decided to go level 10, or actually 9.9. See my hands? As a rule, you want to wear gloves. This stuff is going to be miserable to get off of my hands and all the little intricacies of my fingerprints. So once again, it's all about the details. The details in this moment are the obvious, which would be the cylinder, the exterior cylinder of this exhaust tip. But then as you're cleaning, you'll notice it's like, oh wait, how about this lip right here, this little ring. And then the very next thing, if you have an eye for details, is going to be, whoa, how about the inside? Maybe I could detail out the inside and Johnny customer will wet themselves in excitement like a little puppy dog because I cleaned the inside of their exhaust tip. I wonder if anyone has ever cleaned the inside of their exhaust tip. Well, now you just did it, and now you just over-delivered. But by the way, in case your customer does not have an eye for detail, often you will be required to point out the details to them. Meaning, there's things that I know I have detailed and cleaned that they will have no idea to even look for. They just trust me, they look at it, they inspect it at a what I call a casual level, and they thumbs up, Darren, damn, that looks great. So what I do is I show them, I say, hey, you won't even know to look in these places, but I want to make sure that you know to the level I went to detail your car. In this case, that's where you would need to point out to them. It's like, hey, I'm not sure if you're an exhaust person. I just want to let you know that I clean the exhaust. Clearly you can tell. I don't know if you happen to notice it before, and usually in that moment, that's where you'll get the response of like, oh yeah, my exhaust tip was horrible, or oh, I've never even looked at the exhaust tip, or oh yeah, I love it when the exhaust tips get clean, but guys never get it. So thank you very much. Regardless of what the comeback is, that's where you could then take them further and say, hey, what I also did is I cleaned the inside of it. So check it out. I decided to clean the inside of the exhaust tip itself. Just a little extra that I just threw in, because essentially it is all about the details, right? And as my buddy in Belgium, Steve Vandervorst, I hope I said that right, he calls, and this is classic and this was cool, he says, hey Darren, it's not generalizing, it's detailing, because it really is all about the details. And while you may get the obvious details right, it's the unobvious details, the inconspicuous details. But when you start adding up the little details, it will create a picture that is either good or less than good. So a customer may not be able to point out exactly why their car now pops to the level it does because you have nailed the details at every level, or they may. You just don't know. So often people don't know, they just know like, damn, my car's never looked so good. Yes, it's clean and shiny, they'll be able to say that, but they won't be able to pick out the specifics. That's where you need to help them a little bit. And that's how you build value into you as a person and your services, is you will often need to connect the dots for them. So that's one way you do it. And that's how you could actually over deliver in this one little subtle moment of just cleaning the exhaust tip rather than just the outside of it. You could actually go inside of it, if it makes sense, in your world, you could actually clean the inside of it. Go with that. Till next time.